And we're back here with Game 2 of the semifinals of the Silver Division here. Rawr Yordlez versus Glacial Academy. And Rawr Yordlez able to pull up their first win in this series here. Game 1, but it was not an easy fight. It went real close. And in the beginning, it was actually Glacial Academy winning by a landslide here with a 10-kill lead, which unfortunately just did not last and was squandered away. And now in Game 2, it's going to be Glacial Academy on the blue side here. And they have made a change to their roster. It's going to be SSJ Godfist coming in for Ronin here, Ronin XX32. An interesting choice for them because I don't think Ronin was really the issue in Game 1 with that Syndra, but perhaps might bring a bit more shot calling, a bit more of a decisive engage, perhaps from SSJ Godfist. We'll have to see how that one shapes up. And for the side of Rawr Yordlez, they're on the red side. They made a change as well, bringing in Mr. Sarux in that top lane to substitute for Mad Jack. A very, very interesting choice because, honestly, Mad Jack was a huge part of their game. I think ending the game was at 6-6-8 or something like that, 6-7-8. Can't quite remember the finishing score off the top of my head here, but yeah, he did really well for the team. So very, very surprised to actually see them replace him here. And we'll have to see how Mr. Saruk slots in. Whether he can bear the same weight that Mad Jack did in Game 1 here. And we're going to hop straight into the picks and bans. Glacial Academy, once more starting with the Orianna ban. But they're going to ban the Aphelios this time against Fang Rui. A very, very solid choice here. It's a very, very strong champion. Potentially still the strongest ADC right now in the current meta. So giving it to somebody who knows how to use it is definitely risky here. So they're going to ban that one out. The Morgana, the Braum, and the Jinx as well. So they're paying a lot of attention into that bot lane here. Obviously, they didn't feel the Veigar was that big an issue. For the side of Rawr Yordlez, they're going to ban out the Mordekaiser, Nico, Ornn, and Mumu. Interesting choice to ban out that Ornn for King Tyrus there. It is his most played champion here in the Coalition League. I think it is a solid ban for sure, but I don't think it was necessary because King Tyrus was not really able to handle the lane necessarily against the side of Mad Jack here. So maybe it's a statement on how they feel Mr. Sarux is going to play. But in terms of picks for Glacial Academy, that is a set Cassiopeia. Okay, wait, that's not a Taric. So that is a set Cassiopeia Lucian Trundle Vayne. So interestingly, they draft themselves two ADCs here, and that's almost going to be definitely one ADC in the top lane. The only question is it going to be Lucian in the top lane, or is it going to be Vayne in the top lane? Both these champions can quite easily go into the top lane, fit quite well there. We've seen, I believe it was Epic Gamer pulling off the Vayne in the top lane here. And as for the Lucian, I'm not sure if we've seen one yet in the Silver Division here. So it's going to be interesting to see which one shows up. And I'm just checking through the players here. Neither of them play a lot of Vayne or Lucian. So really, it's anybody's guess which one's going to go where here. And for the side of Rawr Yordlez, they're drafting themselves a Dr. Mundo, a Pyke, Volibear, Vel'Koz, and Kai'Sa here. So it looks like both teams kind of throwing team composition out the window a little bit. They're both just going for straight strength in lanes here. Sort of just individual power picks for themselves. I'm actually doubly concerned about the Ornn ban now because Mr. Saruk's playing that Dr. Mundo in the top lane here. I assume that's where it's going to go. It could potentially flex into the jungle, but we have seen Mr. Saruk's pull out the Mundo, and specifically it was against the Ornn, and he did extremely well into the Ornn with the Dr. Mundo, so I'm surprised they banned the Ornn if they were going to first pick Dr. Mundo here. And we could potentially see a flex. We did just see Mundo being played last night in the SFAD versus War Mother's Children match where Dr. Mundo went into the jungle here. So could potentially see that in the bot lane. Very aggressive Pyke Kai'Sa lane here. And I think for the side of Rawr Yordlez, they're just looking to sort of smash lane, win game. And for the side of Glacial Academy, likewise here, they do have quite a lot of good skilling here with the Cassiopeia, with the Vayne as well. But picking a Lucian into lane means you're definitely looking to dominate that lane. And I actually think they might have the edge. I think it was a very good draft from them in order to bait out the Dr. Mundo by making them think it was going to be a set in the top lane here. And then switching to a Lucian because the range champions do extremely well into Dr. Mundo, who has no gap closer of his own. And we'll have to see how this one comes out. I do believe it will just ultimately come down to who's got the better laners here. And that's an extremely risky play here from the side of Glacial Academy, because on paper, the better players look like they're on the side of Rawr Yordlez here, so it is a bit of a risk, but one that I respect very much from Glacial Academy, because they need to find some sort of early game lead. It doesn't look like they're strong enough to go into the late game. The later you go, the more CS and mechanics start to show here. So you need to look for some sort of either compositional strength like they did last game with that AoE composition, or you look to smash lanes, and they have drafted themselves a sort of winning top lane here. The mid lane really could go either way, and this is SSJ Godfist against Duero. It's not the Ronin versus Duero matchup, where Ronin seemed to do pretty well, so might have a bit of a different experience this game here. And in the bot lane, I actually really like the set pickup into the Pyke here, because Pyke, really strong assassin, but Set as a bruiser will be able to sort of match some of that damage here, and will survive the burst, be able to trade back quite effectively. So I think a lot of this game will come down to sort of how the mid and bot lane sort of goes here. As for the mid lane here, I mean, that's a Vel'Koz, that's a Cassiopeia. Sure, you get kill potential at 6, but I'm not sure it's going to be quite as necessarily aggressive. We will have to see how this one goes. Duero opting for that barrier once again, that defensive start, while SSJ Godfist does pick up the teleport. And we are seeing invades from both sides here. iNeverFui is going to start the blue buff in the enemy jungle to match Period there. So they're just going to split the map, it looks like, top and bottom. Winter looking for that steal, but he might have put himself in a bit of a bad spot. Pillar does come out, and he's going to have to flash his way to safety, and that's his flash burn really early here. But it's not for no reason, as we do see Fangre able to look for an early lead in this bot side here. And the Pyke managing to hook onto Dobby 007. We did see some Pyke nerfs in the last patch here, but nerfs, I think, is a bit of a subjective word here. He did get actually some buffs in the support role as well. He does have a bit flatter mana costs, as well as lower cooldowns on some of his skills here. So should be nice in this bot lane, but that's a Set, and we already saw last game, Sets regenerate at a disgusting rate. So basically, poke doesn't tend to stick onto him. You're looking more for all-ins here. Unfortunately, Dobby 007 not able to find the pull on to Winter 07. And because they're both sort of melees here, there's just a lot of dangerous poking. The Facebreaker comes across, and Mazir Lane able to put down a bunch of damage. Those silver bolts proccing onto Fangre here. And the flash coming out instantly from Dobby 007. They're looking for an early kill. Can they find it? The Ignite is there. The exhaust comes out. It will not be enough. Winter 07 being able to just barely slip away there. But that is going to be first blood into the bot lane and onto Mazir Lane. And if there's one person who can carry a game right now for Glacial Academy, Mazir has proven it's likely to be him. And on this vein, no less. And Vayne has enjoyed somewhat dubious success here in the Silver Division. We've seen Vayne's absolutely pop off, and we've also seen Vayne's just get crushed here because they are so short range. And now top lane, iNeverFui's looking for the engage here. The flash is traded from jungler top laner. King Tyree's having to blow his to try and survive the gank. And in the mid lane, Period and Dobby looking for an early collapse. But Duero, no wards at all, just happening to guess right. And he sticks on the top side, will be able to dodge out on that 3-man collapse. And iNeverFui's returning to that top side, still looking to try and get this, but Lucian and a very slippery ADC. That's why we see him in the top lane, in the long lane here, because he's got so much mobility. He's so difficult to gank, and I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. They're gonna not find a lot of success here in the top side. But Mr. Sorok's doing pretty well for himself, is even in terms of CS, despite having that melee versus range matchup. Does have to be careful though. Is taking quite a bit of poke for now. And the map continues to be split top and bottom here between Rawr Yordlez and Glacial Academy. Normally we do see it being split and then sort of return to equilibrium after the first clears here, but for now, it's still iNeverFui's controlling that top side, while Perrier continues to farm the bottom side. And I do expect that to change, as we do see iNeverFui's going back to base, picking up his first buys here. And interestingly enough, Mazir Lane running back to base, his first purchase is going to be that recurve bow, not the bilge water cutlass we normally see, which does give a bit more sustain in lane as well as a nice burst of damage as well. So he's just looking to be able to proc those silver bolts as quickly as he can. Might help if they do decide to go for an early Drake as well. But for now, both junglers not really looking to do that quite yet, and we do see SSJ Godfist with an early back and teleport back into lane as well. He's trying to catch as much CS as he can. Has so far been poked out a little bit by Duero, so is behind a little bit in farm. So that teleport is going to be able to even things up for now. Once again, Glacial Academy looking like they're having a solid game plan coming into this. They're not doing too shabby in the early game right now. And again, sorry, not again, but in contrast to game one, they're the ones with better skilling. They've got the Vayne, they've got the Cassiopeia. Last game it was the Aphelios, Vigar, and top lane. King Tyrus finds himself a solo kill with the Lucian onto Mr. Sarooks. That just begs the question, why didn't we see more of this aggressive King Tyrus? Why do they always have him on Ornn duty if he is capable of sort of dominating his lane here and looking for kills? And also, why did Rawr Yordlez switch out Magic, who did such a good job here in game one? That being said, it's early times yet, and we did see Glacial Academy being the one to find themselves leads in the early game last game, and now the knockup lands into SSJ Godfist, but they have stopped Rawr Yordlez's Dragon Take for now. They have to stop, they have to peel off, and is Glacial Academy going to turn around and look for this? Potentially not. They are getting zoned out. It is looking like a full 4v4 might break out here. Even a 5v5 maybe, but Mr. Sarooks not showing up. The disintegration ray comes across. The Phase Breaker shields, but it's just buying time. W007 will once again be the first one to go down. And this series has not been Dobby's day here, as he has been repeatedly caught and killed in game one and now in game two as well. He's the sacrificial lamb here. He goes in, no one else with him, and King Tyrus, who was hit down towards that bottom side, is going to teleport to that top side instead for now. And that's going to cost him quite a few plates. Mr. Sarooks able to find 2 plates on that top lane turret here. So he might have died, but I think that he's perfectly fine. He's actually up in gold here as he does manage to find plates. And while we look at the gold values this time, I never he's able to find himself a gold lead. Last game, it was Perrier instead who had himself quite a nice gold lead here in the mid lane as well. Duero on this Vel'Koz is able to punish at range Cassiopeia, and Cassiopeia very, very strong, but is a little bit short-ranged for a mid-lane mage here, and against the sort of geometry and the ranged poke that Vel'Koz can put down, it's just so hard for SSJ right now to get onto Vel'Koz and trade, and even to farm safely, really, in that bot side. It is Mazir Lane with the slightest of leads, another 200 gold lead down in that bot side as well. And so despite being down about 700 gold, and because of that Inferno Dragon and the fight there, we actually see Glacial Academy in a pretty good position. A beautiful tumble here to dodge out the stun for Mazir Lane. They're looking for Fangre here. The stun comes across. He's into the wall, but they lost vision on him. And Winter is doing a great job right now putting the damage down. Mazir Lane actually getting taken fairly low. He does manage to find the kill, but he's now extremely low. Will go down to one last auto, and Winter finds the return kill onto Mazir Lane there. No level 6 means no execution, no death from below available for Winter 07 quite yet here. So no gold going to be given over to Fangre for that execute. And he has to be careful because we do see Neverfuiz coming in. He's going to walk over a ward. But Dobby, no flash, means that a good flash engage from Neverfuiz is going to find him here. And Winter 07 finding himself yet another kill. He's 2-0-1 here. And normally, giving your support the kills is not a situation that you want to see, but that's a Pyke. If he gets rolling, he can dish even more damage than the ADC here in the bot lane. And if he can get ahead, he can get more of those deaths for belows. His ADC won't mind at all, because that's still a ton of gold going his way. And top lane, Mr. Sarooks forced the flash, used that sadism ultimate as well, just to try and survive the reckoning here from King Tyrus. And King Tyrus winning the lane, but is actually struggling to convert that to a CS lead here. This integration ray coming across is going to force the flash out in the mid lane from SSJ Godfist. And SSJ has been struggling to sort of dodge out on a lot of that poke. And he will not have to teleport this time to get back into lane. So looking like Rawr Yordlez trying to find themselves a lead. And the scary part with the Yordlez is when they have a lead, they know how to play it here. They often accelerate the pace of the game, and that is what I'm expecting to see. Perrier now in the top side looking for a gank. Is going to run right into I Never Freeze here. He is a level down. And he's going to have to flash back out, but he already took a lot of damage from that. He might go down here, but so they're going to turn around and look for King Tyrus. He's flashed out. Will have the dash shortly, and mid lane, it was Duero, sorry, not mid lane, in the jungle, it was Duero catching out Perrier there, who's trying to run away. They find themselves a kill there. King Tyrus did go down to Mr. Sarox. There might not be a gap closer, but with those cleavers, Mundo can be very, very sticky and clingy. They find themselves 2 kills on that top side. Now they're looking for the Herald. And if we're talking about accelerating the pace of the game, this is it here. As Rawr Yordlez now grow their lead to a 2,500 gold lead with the Herald in their back pocket as well. They can look to get first turret. And Mr. Sarox just stripping plates on this top lane turret. He's got yet another 2 plates from King Tyrus not being in lane. Potentially might actually get the first serve of the game. They're going to drop the Herald. I don't think this was necessary. It's quite overkill here. And it will actually most likely get the charge off there. And that's going to be Shelly losing a chunk of its health for a guaranteed turret. The question is, can they walk it into the inner now, get a bit more use out of it? And I never freeze in the area as well. Does not have the Stormbringer, will not be able to just hop over the wall here. And King Tyrus is able to put down the hurt onto Mr. Sarox. He's got himself the Executioner's Calling. I like that early pickup here. The Reckoning coming across. This should be an easy pickup. And he gets both Shelly and Mr. Sarox. A little bit of overconfidence there from Mr. Sarox, I think, in that lane. And I Never Freeze was nearby, but he's too busy farming. Doesn't want any of that action topside. And that's unfortunately going to be Mr. Sarox going down for nothing there. Glacial Academy not really losing too much on that Herald here. They were going to lose that top turret anyways. They don't take any turret on the any damage on the inner turret here. So not the worst situation they could find themselves in. That being said, they are still down about 4,000 gold here. And that's 4,000 gold in the last 2 minutes. Their lead has absolutely just ballooned out of control here. With such a snowbally comp from Rawr Yordlez, with the Pike, with the Kai'Sa, with the Volibear here, things are looking a little dicey for them. The Cloud Drake is about to spawn here, and you can already see Mr. Sarox rotating down to that bottom side. They're going to look to burst this one down right away here. Dr. Mundo, a deceptively quick jungler here with those cleavers, with the percent health damage. They shred that one down incredibly quickly here. Now they're going for Perrier. They collapse. It's a beautiful 5-man collapse from all directions there. The Petrifying Gaze comes across, but it only catches I Never Freeze. There's nowhere for SSJ to run. He goes down. I Never Freeze picking up a kill. That's another 2 kills in favor of Rawr Yordlez. And where are they going to go right now with their numbers advantage? Most likely to this mid lane. There's only 2 plates left here. Mr. Sarox going back to base. He teleports back to that top side. He's going to stop the push from King Tyrus for now. And they managed to snag themselves a dragon, 2 kills, and another turret here as well as plates for the side of Rawr Yordlez. And last game, it was Rawr Yordlez into this sort of deficit here, but the deficit's a lot bigger this game. It's almost 7,000 at just under 14 minutes here. Last game, it was only closer to about a 5,000 gold lead. So the question right now is, can Glacial Academy hold up to the point where they can start scaling? Mazir Lane still doing decently for himself, is starting to fall behind in terms of CS right now, but still up in terms of kill and still has a lot of pressure in that bot side. Now top lane, King Tyrus, the Reckoning kind of went the wrong direction a little bit here. He might go down. Can he find Mr. Sarox? Yes, he can. So they trade 1 for 1 in that top side. No bounties going either way, so that's an okay trade there. But that is a sign that Mr. Sarox is getting tankier and tankier. Has completed the Sunfire Cape here and is trying to build into that Spirit Visage as well. Not necessarily the best ideal build for handling King Tyrus, but it will give him a bit more strength in these team fights, especially when he has to run into the likes of SSJ Godfist here. And I am expecting him to invest sometime soon into some sort of more armor, maybe a Thornmail here or Randuin's Omen, because there is a Vayne here he has to deal with as well. Now Winter going into that bot side. Beautiful flash to get the stun down, an instant burst, and it's going to be Fang Rei securing the kill for himself, not giving the death from below over to Winter here. frankly, they kind of don't need it. They're already really strong here. Winter 2-0-4 on this Pyke with the Youmu's already completed, and they're looking for a potential dive right now. Top side, Inebefui's finding Pyria. He's got a 2-level lead right now. And the pillar actually messed up Pyria much harder than it did Inebefui's. But Inebefui's with the greet there. He might have overstayed his welcome. A good flash over the wall with the Stormbringer. Going to disable that turret and bring him to safety. Bot lane, the dive goes off without a hitch here. Fangray and Winter trading off the turret aggro there. And it is going to be Fangray picking up another kill as well as another turret. And the gold lead continues to grow to a 9k gold lead here. They're averaging about 2k per minute right now since they started getting themselves a lead. And Rawr Yordlez just completely popping off. Just finding non-stop advantages everywhere on the map here. And just the sheer mobility. We check the vision as well. Winter 07 and the rest of Rawr Yordlez doing a good job trying to cut the vision right now. And Glacial Academy just forced to really be very defensive with their wards. They've got nothing in the river. They have zero control over any objectives. And if you glance over at Rawr Yordlez instead, their vision's a little spottier because they've had to move up their vision line very rapidly in the last couple of minutes here. They've taken down all the outer turrets, and that means that their old defensive line along the river is no longer quite as useful here, as we do see all of Glacial Academy just constantly stuck in their base behind turrets. And now they're looking for a collapse into the bot side. Duero flashing away. Is that going to be enough? Winter 07 buying some time, distracting Perrier. The pillar doesn't slow down Duero. Instead, they tried to slow down Winter, but he was out and safe already. And I must say, I'm not really liking this Trundle pick from Perrier as he goes down once again, this time to the disintegration ray. His pillars have not been on point, and I think have harmed more than they've really helped this game here. He's 0-4-0 right now, has been caught out multiple times in the jungle, and Trundle did get a little bit of a nerf. It wasn't huge, but it did hit his attack speed, so it did affect his jungle clear a little bit here. So I think for Pyria, unless he's got a very clear idea of how he wants to play this one, the Trundle pick is not necessarily the best thing we could see out of him. I thought his Amumu pick in Game 1 was perfectly fine, and would have been fine here in Game 2 as well. With such strong, aggressive damage lanes, he could have focused on just bringing the CC here from the jungle. And we did see the Herald going down once again to the side of Rawr Yordlez here, and that will help them be able to look to crack yet another inner turret. So far, they've been struggling to do that thus far. And it's looking like they're going to drop it potentially into the top side here. Inebefui's and Mr. Saruk's pushing this, while the entirety of Glacial Academy was actually focused onto the mid lane here. And that's going to give Glacial Academy a tough choice. Dragon or turret, disintegration ray comes across. Period going down once again here. Showstopper gonna do a bunch of damage onto Winter, but he's so light that he doesn't do much damage onto Duero. Fangray able to mop him up. That's another kill. Top side, King Tyrus was trying to stop the top lane push, but he gets killed instead. And Shelly gets another 2 charges off. The inhibitor turret going down. The inhibitor soon to follow as well. Can they get one more charge? I think they might, because Mazir lane is not going to get there in time. And that's the entire turret gone down. The base in shambles right now for Glacial Academy, as they also lose the Ocean Drake here. Mazur lane might go down. Inebefui's just looking for him, but the invisible tumble from the last hour keeping him alive. And Perrier finally able to get on the board there with a single kill onto Inebefui's. He gets a bounty as well, a sizable one at that, 650 gold. And there's bounties all over the side of Rawr Yordlez. If they can pick up a bunch of kills, feed it over to Mazir lane, that to me is, I think, the only way I see Glacial Academy really coming back into this game here, as their entire top lane is exposed all the way to the inhibitor here. Pardon me, all the way to the Nexus, not the inhibitor. Inhibitor already down. And that's going to give Rawr Yordlez plenty of options where they want to go. They've got themselves Soul Point as well, and Baron will be spawning about 30 seconds. They could just look to take Baron and end the game here. Barrier has to be careful. Is going to get hooked one more time. Disintegration ray coming across one more time. Winter picking this one up, but he did not use the ultimate, so there will be no gold gifted over to Duero there. And now Mr. Saruk's in a classical Matt Jack maneuver, gets caught deep inside the enemy base with nowhere to run. But unlike Matt Jack, he does not have the Set, who's got a lot more mobility here, has the shield instead on the Mundo with no ultimate to boot. He's going to get bursted down in the enemy base. Thankfully, the rest of his team able to find an inner turret for themselves, but they have to be careful. It's a 3v5 situation right now. Fang Rui is not with them. Was picking up some jungle objectives, but it might be Dobby stepping out a little bit too far. Facebreaker comes across. Does not matter. The kills coming across, they find both Dobby and King Tyrus here. King Tyrus stepping just a little bit too close. Will get bursted down by that death from below as well. The execute true damage coming across. Now Pyria has to be careful. Instead, it's the flash engaged onto SSJ Godfist. He had no time to even petrify anyone. And this could be it here, as 3 members from the side of Glacial Academy are dead. They're looking to push in the mid lane. They've got themselves the inhibitor turret, the inhibitor in their sights. Bot lane, Mr. Saruk's continuing his split push as well. And now Dobby 007 is back up. King Tyrus to follow. So they will mount their final defense here under the Nexus turret. But Pyria goes down! He's 1-7-0 right now, and just in time for SSJ to be looking to spawn, and so they're mounting another 3v5 here. Fang Rui coming into the backline. Can he fight Mazir lane? No, he can't. Mazir able to try and pick something up. It's King Tyrus actually getting the kill credit here. And now Winter07 might have been a little bit too aggressive. Will be okay because the rest of his team is here to back him up. And now it is going to be the Nexus in the eyes of Rawr Yordlez. Are they looking to pad their stats? I don't think they need to here. They have to be careful. Disintegration comes across just as the Nexus goes down. And Rawr Yordlez speed running this one. 21.5 minutes for game 2 of this series. Game 1 and game 2 were like night and day here, as Rawr Yordlez, struggled really heavily in game 1 here. But in game 2, they just turned it on and just smashed right through Glacial Academy. This was more what we expected from Rawr Yordlez here. And Duero 5-0 and 10 on this Vel'Koz. Every bit as menacing as the Veigar from game 1 here. Mr. Saruk's having a much tougher game in this one compared to Mad Jack in the first one. But to be fair, he was matched up against that ranged mobile ADC here. And I think a lot of this, more than Rawr Yordlez really just turning it on and smashing game 2, comes down to Glacial Academy in not really bring it here in game 2. They picked for strong lanes, but it kind of didn't work out. The side lanes kind of did their job. King Tyrus got himself a lead. Mazir actually was winning that bot lane into Winter there, but the mid jungle synergy was a little bit lacking. Pyria ending 1-7-0, and SSJ Godfist 0-4-1 here. Not the showing you were hoping for, and I think maybe if you want to play such a lane-centric sort of composition, maybe let Ronin be the mid laner, because he's actually been a really solid mid laner thus far. I'm not really sure I understand why they swapped him out, and I guess it doesn't seem to have worked here with SSJ Godfist picking a scaling champion in the composition where they're looking for lanes, and Pyria on this Trundle. I mean, I get that you wanted to sort of shred the stats from Mr. Saruk's on the Mundo and Volbear for I Never Freeze, but he just struggled to really find any sort of traction in the game. Was nothing more than a glorified sort of melee minion there. Didn't get much damage out. If we take a quick look here at how much damage he put out, he did a total of 1,499 damage to champions, just shy of 1,500. So really, that is the lowest in the game, was beaten up by both supports as well. So I think maybe change up that pick here for Pyria. Give him something that can gank a bit earlier and bring a bit more to the table to help Glacial Academy look for that early snowball here, because they just got smashed this game. And with that, we are going to be heading into game 3. We are going to take a short intermission break to set up for that. So we'll see you shortly.